Hello and welcome to episode 337 of Fergo and the Freak. I'm that bloke from Rugby League Project, Andrew Ferguson. You can find me on Twitter at AndrewRLP. And join me as always is the glorious League Freak. You can find just buying every single Ponzi coin he can, and on Twitter at League Freak. How you going there, mate?
I'm going good. I'm also on Instagram now, so people can follow me on Instagram.
You're on Insta.
Yeah, if you look up the glorious League Freak, I think I've got 6 pictures up, something like that. So
nice. I didn't know they were allowing pornography on Insta.
Well, it's lots of you got to be careful. It's kind of like when you're in Japan, you can't show any penetration and things like that, but you can show plenty of tentacles going places they should never be.
Well, there you go. I mean, I did see your shiny helmet before.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, check out my shiny helmet. Tell you what, that's one of the things. I was just watching the closing ceremony for the Olympics in Tokyo, and it was all traditional, Japanese dances and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, where's the anime and the weird stuff? Why is there not 50,000 vending machines where you can just get everything you want out of a vending machine, and like lots of neon lights, things like that?
I agree. And, Toyota making cars that are more like wheelchairs than anything else.
Well, they had that. Did you see that?
No, God, I've not seen it in the Olympics.
There was this weird, all of a sudden they cut to this weird thing where they had some wheelchair athlete, I don't know what he was doing, and they stopped him and they scanned him, and then Toyota made him a wheelchair. It was so out of place. It was very strange.
Interesting product placement.
Yeah, I know, right?
Oh, man. So, Japan must be happy. They spent all that money making all those massive stadiums that no one could go and visit.
Yeah, it'll be exactly like when the Roosters get their new stadium.
Yeah, what are they going to do with the venue? I mean, maybe the Roosters could start playing home games in Japan.
Oh, that'd work.
Because I
probably have just as many fans over there.
Because I think maybe it's time that the planned expansion to China we've just put on the back burner for a little bit.
Go to Japan instead.
Yeah, it's a bit closer.
Yeah. Now that you brought up the Roosters, right, can fan bases learn how to lose fucking football games? Like, the Panthers beat the Roosters, okay? The Panthers were higher up on the table. Yeah, they had things go their way. I think generally in that game, the refereeing was pretty poor for both sides, but more so for the Roosters. But the fucking carry on by Roosters fans on Twitter was just nonstop. It's like, can they just calm down and cop a loss?
Let's be honest. West Tigers fans have spent most of their time following a team that loses probably 2/3 of their games, and they don't know how to handle losses. They don't even know how to handle wins properly.
Tell you who's handling losses good these days are Bulldogs fans. They've got like a resignation to them. And it's interesting, although they did get upset the other week when I said Trent Barrett couldn't coach.
Yeah. Imagine getting upset about that and then watch your team lose to the Tigers again.
Yeah.
And know that you've got to play them again in about a month's time.
It wasn't even a good Tigers performance. It was a horrible Tigers performance.
That game was atrocious.
Yeah.
I had to do a live update for that for another website, and I had to, nominate the 3 best players for the game.
Yeah.
That's like Chinese torture.
Yeah, who would I have picked? I would have picked...
Well, for the Bulldogs, it would have been Moses and Bai, Luke Brooks.
I feel like
the Tigers would have been Hetherington.
There just because he tried.
Dewey always gets 3 points because, who's better than him?
Yeah, they're atrocious. I was actually watching Luke Brooks in this game, and I just get angrier and angrier the more I watch him play.
This is the first time in a long time he's had a game where he was 50% utter dog shit and 10% genuine NRL top grade halfback, and the rest was just meh. Usually he's like the majority of his performance is just sitting in the meh area, but this one was just like he kicked a 40-20 and then got his side a set restart on the very first tackle after it before throwing a forward pass. The fuck was that about? Moses and Bai was just he went to field one kick that was kicked to the sideline. It wasn't a 40-20 attempt, and he tried to reel it in while his foot was on the sideline. What are you doing, you moron? And then when the Tigers get on their next attacking set, he then puts in a grubber which does nothing but hit Bulldogs players in the legs. And because they're crap, they knocked it on, and we somehow got the ball back. So Bai's probably going, I planned for that. And no, you didn't. You fucked it up. He had a drop ball, and man, they were just. It was horrible. It was horrible.
Yeah, it was a rough game to watch. I stopped watching the last, I think it was 5 minutes, and the game was still pretty close.
I fell asleep during it. I was doing a live update for it, and I fell asleep for 6 minutes.
Oh, wow.
It was just, it's a punish.
Yeah.
But anyway, I've got that off my chest.
Yeah, it's good. Normally that takes 45 minutes.
That's the episode done. I'm looking at you going, hang on. We've only gone 5 minutes in here.
By the way, it'd be remiss of us not to mention that one of our former guests, Julie, has had a baby.
She has. Congratulations, Julie. Born today, I believe.
Yeah, she had a baby. She apparently he come out quickly. I don't know how that works, but she said she's going to listen to the podcast, and we've got to try and make sure that we don't get her to pop her stitches wherever she has them.
I love how across the matters of pregnancies you are. Fantastic. You've done your research.
Yeah.
She's got. I can tell you right now, listeners, if you don't know, like League Freak, she doesn't have stitches in her leg.
No. I'm just saying, like, because she told me, like, I said to her, "You're pregnant?" She was like, "Yeah." I said, "How does that happen?" So she took me through the whole process.
Right.
It was very technical. She was saying how, like, the stork comes in through the window, puts you over the side of the bed, grabs your hair.
Did she mention the paperwork that he makes you do?
The paperwork.
Oh, paperwork, mate.
Do you reckon that on the census she has to fill out that there's another person in her house?
Yes, she will.
Okay.
Because it's based on whoever's in your house on the 10th of August. Actually, she might still be in hospital.
I don't know.
So that will make it a bit complicated.
She'll be listening to this right now saying, "Can you please stop talking about me at this point?"
You know what they should do at the hospital she's at is they should ask her to do the census. And they'll say on there, how many people are in your dwelling at the moment? She's just going to have to spend the whole day wandering around asking each person.
700.
Yeah. And all the children. That'd be fun. That'll keep you occupied, Julie.
I wonder what she calls the baby.
Well, it's...
Oh, I think she told me.
Andrew League.
I think she has a name picked out for if it's a boy or if it was a girl. So I think she already knows what she was going to call it. But I reckon she should call it Matt Daylight.
Matt Daylight, I bet. Yeah, just not Mitchell.
Yeah, not Mitchell. That'd be fucked. Or Jordan, because he's not a pom.
Yeah, don't go with Jordan. Don't go there. Yeah, it's also been it's been a big week for a big sort of winter period, I guess, for babies. Obviously, my wife and I had one back in May.
Yeah,
and Mr. and Mrs. Nathan had a baby too shortly after ours was born.
Really?
Another guest.
Amazing how, like, I guess you'd call that in the Olympic spirit, like synchronized intercourse, wouldn't it be?
Well, I don't know how synchronized it was. We weren't setting watches.
Weren't you?
No.
Just sort of randomly going by Zoom calls and stuff like that. Pretty much, yeah. You don't want to be intrusive, No,
don't want to sound weird.
No.
We had phones on loudspeakers, but that was about it. No videos. That's just weird.
Yeah.
Speaking of census,
mm-hmm.
that is coming up on Tuesday, and we thought we'd have a quick gander and see how possibly some of the questions would be answered by rugby league players.
Yeah, this is good. The census is always a really, really exciting moment because
I'll tell you we're the stats nerd in this one.
Well, I like the census because the government sends out a form to fill out, and they say they need it for planning, which In Australia, we don't plan anything. And then if you don't fill it out, they send you a fine with your name and address on it. It's like, well, if you had my name and address, why do I need to fill out the census?
Well, there you go. I think the thing I find interesting is that they're asking us, as you said, they need us to fill out the census so they can figure out, where they need to do work. But they've already got a system set in place to find out where they need to do work, and that is they just go to whoever's in the electoral seat for their actual government, and then they just build them a car park. Isn't that the go-on job now?
That's my understanding, yeah. And the other thing is too, like, where is everyone? We're all at fucking home.
Yeah. It's going to be easy.
Going
it's going to be
anywhere.
easy for everyone.
What's your job? I haven't got one anymore. What's your religion? I don't know, but I watch the sermons every 11 a.m. on the fucking morning.
And aren't they fascinating?
They really are.
We all tune in. It got to the point where during the Victorian ones last year that we could tell how bad the news was going to be from the Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews based on whether he was wearing, was it outdoor explorer type gear or not?
Oh yeah,
I've got the name of that stuff.
What was it called?
You get it. I think you get it from those, boating, fishing, camping places.
Yeah.
North Face.
That's it. It.
Whether he's wearing North Face gear or not. Yeah. So I don't know if Gladys has got a thing going on. Maybe if she comes out, maybe she's come out and she's got rosy cheeks. It's going to be a shit day.
All I know is that Brad Hazard says dumb shit every time he's got a microphone under his nose. And like the other week, and I don't follow all of this news too closely because I just don't care. But the other week he was saying that if you're out in the community and you have COVID, you're basically walking around with a loaded weapon.
Oh.
And it's like, wow, just calm down there, Brad. And then have you seen the videos of him when he puts the mask on and off, and as soon as the press conference is finished, he just takes his mask off and walks away? Like,
yeah, he hasn't really got that process down.
No.
Kind of got that wrong. Got a bit arse about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all a bit fascinating. But yeah, we've got the whole eastern seaboard is in lockdown at the moment.
Yeah, it's good.
It's fascinating how each state now handles it. Queensland's confused. I think there was a comment which came out recently where they said, we suggest you don't organise to get stuff delivered to your house because you're putting delivery drivers at risk. And go, hang on, you're not allowed to go to supermarkets. Are you supposed to get food?
How about when there was an outbreak at a KFC in Sydney, and they said, "Oh, KFC isn't essential," and it's like, so now food outlets are going to be picked off one by one as not being essential. Like, eventually we'll have nothing to eat. We'll have to go to Bunnings and start eating fucking sawdust or something because Bunnings is open.
Oh, we have Bunnings open here too.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah, Kentucky Fried Cluster.
Yeah.
It's going great guns, mate. You just got to make sure that at Porto, they just shut the fuck up and they just stay under the radar. You'll be fine.
Exactly. If anybody in a Porto gets it, I just want them to keep it on the, down low, and I want them to just casually say, hey, look, could get sick. I'll still eat it.
All they've got to do, mate, is just spray some Glen 20 over it. When you get it, take it home, put it in the microwave. That'll kill whatever they put on there. Job's good. You'll be fine.
All sorted. Anyway, let's do this census. I'm pumped up for the census. Anytime I can give abundant amounts of information to the government, I'm all for it.
Absolutely. Let's see. How would Paul Vaughan answer this question?
Yeah.
Who spent the night of Tuesday, 10th of August in this dwelling?
Do you reckon he'd have to attach another piece of paper?
I think he's probably going to have to get a very long piece of cardboard and ask everyone to write their details on there.
He just says, well, I can tell you who wasn't here.
Yeah. Imagine that. They happen to go around his house again and go, right, I've got to go to the barbecue and get Corey. I've got to go onto the bed and get Jack. Why can't they just sit on chairs?
I know, right?
He's got to go dig them out from all sorts of little crevices around the house.
Best game of hide and seek ever.
Unbelievable. Um, in total, how many people were away from your dwelling?
Oh, there was only about 10 of them that weren't there.
There's about 10 homes that can't answer that question because all their people were over at Varney's house.
By the way,
Oh,
if you consider that all the NRL players are up in Queensland, when they have to fill out who was in their dwelling, like, how many of them would have to say, I don't know their name, but it's Sexy Chick 47 on Instagram?
yeah, that's pretty much it. So at the moment, too, the problem they've got is that all of them and all their families have all gone up to Queensland.
Yeah.
That's just irresponsible from the family's behalf. I mean, who's supposed to be doing the census?
Yeah,
These football players. I mean, they've got a hard job of training and playing football and having parties.
Yeah.
They don't have time to fuck around with government forms like this. That's what they get married for.
Exactly. How are you supposed to fill out a form when you're trolling through Instagram for some chick?
Exactly.
I don't get it.
Exactly.
They're only human.
Yeah, exactly. There's some touchy words here for some of the players. You know, what are the people's dates of birth and age? What is the person's relationship to person 1 or 2? Just put complicated a lot.
Yeah, just complicated. Lots of just met thems.
What is the person's current marital status? Who cares?
Didn't ask.
Where does the person usually live? For most of them, it's like wherever the nearest taxi is.
Yeah.
Oh, man. In which country was the person born? I mean, you know, for the Raiders players, most of them are going to say England, aren't they?
England, yeah.
Does the person use the language other than English at home? I suppose for those English players, what are they going to put down?
They'd have to put down, some of them would put down Scouse. What else? Whatever the fuck it is that Jamie Peacock says. Have you ever heard him talk?
He speaks in Pigeon Yorkshire, I think.
Fucking marbles in his mouth. Dead set. I don't understand what he's saying.
Well, that's that's where question 21 comes in and says, how well does the person speak English?
Oh, just doesn't. Can you put down speaks English? How well? Doesn't.
Or no. Just no.
Yeah.
Does the person ever need someone to help with or be with them for self-care activities? Well, in Todd Carney's case, yes.
Yeah, he probably needs a minder. There's a lot of them need a minder.
Yeah.
It depends. What do you describe as being self-care?
Well, you know, going to the toilet on your own and, you know, making sure it goes in the toilet, not your gob.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That'd be a good start.
Yeah.
Or for Julian O'Neill, you know, going to a toilet, not to a craps table. I mean, let's be honest. That is confusing.
Well, he did shit in a teammate's shoe as well.
Yeah, well, you know, it looks kind of like a seat.
Yeah. Easy mistake to make.
It's a bit of a receptacle looking thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he got a bit of a rough deal there, Julian.
Remember when he allegedly tried to set a dolphin mascot on fire?
No.
Don't you?
No, I did not hear that one.
Yeah, I think it might have been a preset. I can't remember what team he was with, but they were on like some cruise. This is from memory, so I hope I'm getting this right, and it's all alleged. But apparently there was a cruise, and allegedly there was somebody dressed up in a foam dolphin outfit that it was allegedly almost set on fire, and then the person that allegedly tried to set them on fire allegedly jumped over the edge of the boat and swam to shore, and that was it. It was basically the end.
Oh boy. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
What else is there? Does the person ever need someone to help them with does the person ever need someone to help with or be with them for communication activities? Well, for the West Tigers players, yes.
100%. They need Ronnie Palmer out there speaking between them all, hey?
Yeah, and he just says the same thing all the time. Come on, guys, we're still in it.
Fucking
They're
Michael
down
Maguire's,
56-0.
Michael Maguire's giving him really detailed instructions. I want to hear who's talking. I want you to tell him to do this, this, this. And Ronnie Palmer goes out there and goes, come on, boys, put in more.
That's it. Come on, boys, rip in. Did you tell him, Ronnie? Yeah. What'd you tell him? I told him rip in. Fuck's sake, Ronnie. At some point during the year, and it's not far away, Ronnie's just going to have a piece of paper with an entire script written on it.
I'm surprised that we haven't seen direct communication between a coach and who is out in the field. Like, why couldn't you have a little speaker?
I agree.
Like,
I think that we're touching a very smart area here when Ricky Stewart goes down to the sideline.
Yeah, I think it must be against the rules. It has to be.
I don't know. I see. Maybe it's that whole feel good at Penrith thing where he got sent off by Bill Harrigan.
Bill Harrigan, yeah, maybe.
Maybe it's from that, but I think we don't want to go as far as what the NFL does, where you stop and the coach runs a play with you and you go back out and you do that like 400 times a game. We don't want that.
Do you remember, this is going back into the late 90s, Phil Gould said that it would be really cool if a coach could call a timeout during the game and get the players over to the sideline and just have a word with them.
Yeah, that's not a good idea.
No.
But what I would be all for is the coach on the sideline just yelling incessantly at the players. Not when the play stopped. Not when players are coming over. Just yelling his tits off at them.
Give him a loudspeaker. That'd be interesting. Can you imagine Craig Bellamy with a loudspeaker?
Oh, come on. Tell me Melbourne wouldn't be one of the most loved teams in the comp if you managed to hear everything Bellamy said.
It'd be so good.
All the games that have to be moved to 10 o'clock at night.
I still think that the reason we're getting fake crowd noise, which is ridiculous, by the way, is because they don't want you to hear what the players say to each other during a game.
I think so too. And It's also not working because I think both games I watched this week were the Panthers one and the Tigers one.
Mm-hmm. And
you could hear plenty of swearing going on.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're so worried about swearing. Like, if it was 1942, probably, but, we get swearing. I mean, the only time you tune in TV now and you don't hear swearing is the news and Home and Away.
Yeah,
maybe the Teletubbies.
I like that about the Formula One since they've been taken over by this new company. They've basically looked at it and said, look, the drivers swear sometimes and it's okay. And so they will let you hear, not so much in the normal broadcasts, but the videos they put online that are from F1 themselves, they're full of swearing by the drivers through the headset that they have when they're in the race. Yeah. And it's fine. Like, the world didn't end.
That's right. No one's upset. Yeah. I don't know what's going on. People are fucking weird.
Mm-hmm.
Is the person attending a school or other education institution? I reckon there'd be a few that are, but not because they're learning anything there.
Yeah. Mostly just, just because it's part of their parole. Good behaviour bonds and stuff like that.
I was going to say more that one of their Tinder matches is out there somewhere.
Don't you dare.
I'm not saying anyone. What is the highest year of primary or secondary school the person has completed? How many would answer that with no?
Yeah. They just heaps of them just write 7. What did it even go up to? I mean, most of them got into football to avoid school.
Yes, that's right. Last week, did the person have a job of any kind? Well, for Paul Vaughan.
Yeah, Paul Vaughan goes, dude, too soon. That's all he wrote, too soon.
Yeah, it's cuts deep, man. Cuts deep.
Yeah.
What else we got on here? For the main job held last week, what was the employee's business name?
Volandis.
PVL Enterprises.
PVL.
Yeah. How many registered motor vehicles owned or used by residents of this dwelling were garaged or parked at or near this dwelling? Geez, you had to be a Storm player answering that question.
Yeah, that's true. All of a sudden, you're like the fucking boat, the 3 Suzukis.
That list will be as long as Paul Vaughan's people living in his house.
True, very true.
Has the person ever served in the Australian Defence Force? No, if they're at the Tigers or the Bulldogs, no defence there. Bad joke. I'm going with it. I cast that line out. I knew it wasn't going to get any bites, but I thought, fuck it, I'm throwing it anyway.
Yeah, that's a hard dad joke, that one.
It is.
I wonder who was the last person that played in the NRL that was actually in the army.
There would have been a few in the 70s, maybe 80s, who got conscripted.
Yeah.
Vietnam. I don't know how many of them saw action. The likes of Bob Fulton and Tommy Raudonikis got conscripted, but I don't think any of them saw action. I'm pretty sure Fulton was a PE trainer for a lot of the soldiers.
Yeah.
And Tommy was changing flat tires on planes at the Wagga RAF base.
Yeah, I can't think of anyone that jumps out that was in the army.
Other than that, I can think of probably Keith Holman. He was in the army in World War II.
Yeah, see, once you start going back to World War II and World War I and that, it starts getting different, you know.
Yeah. Holman almost lost his life in a freak kitchen accident.
Oh, really? What happened?
They had this makeshift kitchen set up, and they had to put petrol down the flue to light up the stove inside.
Okay, petrol.
Yeah, well, they got to get it started somehow.
Might have been maybe kerosene or something like that.
Who knows? Something like that. And the fire was already burning inside, and he didn't know about it, so it just straight up out the flue where he was standing and almost burned him alive.
Wow, that's terrible.
Yeah. There's a war story you don't tell anyone.
No. It's like it's like saying, oh yeah, my grandfather died during World War II. It's like, oh, that's terrible. Yeah, skiing accident in New Zealand.
Yeah, it's not a good one.
No.
Here's another question in here. This is at the end of the census. How much does your household pay for this dwelling?
Oh, well, it depends. Some clubs don't allow them to pay anything. They just say, do you want somewhere to live?
Yeah.
We've got a really cheap place.
We found this abandoned lot. It just happens to be rather well furnished. And we just figured, we don't want it. How about you just take it and you look after it? That's kind of how it goes, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Probably how it goes at Bondi, allegedly. But anyway, there's the census. And remember, people, fill out your census on the August the 10th.
No, I disagree with Andrew. Don't do it. I hope it's not a crime to tell people not to do the census, hey?
It probably is.
If it is, my name's Andrew Ferguson. My name's Andrew Ferguson and I own Rugby League Project.
Well, if we got that right, yeah. Hit me up on Twitter and I'll give you my email address.
Fuck you. Oh, shit. All right. Speaking of which, we should do some emails, hey?
We should.
Okay, let me just make this screen full-sized. Okay, so we've got one here from Nui Ash. He sent this on the 3rd of August. He says... Hey?
A freshie.
Yeah. He says, Crypto Lord and Super Dad. It's been bemusing me how often I hear rugby league personalities, and then he says, let's face it, they aren't journalists, recite the no team has ever won a premiership after conceding 50 points in a regular season match rhetoric like it is meaningful barrier and not just a random obscure stat. To be fair, I don't think the Rabbitohs can win the comp this year either, but for entirely different reasons. What is it about rugby league personalities that prevents them from understanding the difference between correlation and causation? Hits to the head? Excessive alcohol consumption? I'd love to show them a graph showing the decline in the number of people buying physical newspapers against the decline of the Bulldogs to see if they think the Bulldogs can win the comp if enough people start buying newspapers again. Let me issue a challenge to Superdad. What is the funniest rugby league correlation you can come up with? Challenge to Crypto Lord. Hold those BNB coins and Cardano. Cheers, Ash.
Wow.
Mm.
Heck, you got the easy job.
I do. I've got Cardano, by the way.
Let me first say, in regards to, pretty much the theme of what he's getting at there, the
Yes.
reason why a lot of these, I'm not going to call them personalities because they don't have one. So I'm going to go with, well, as we like to call them, bloggers.
Bloggers, yeah.
I'm going to go with these bloggers. The reason why they hang their hat on that one stat is because for a brief moment, it makes them feel like they know something about rugby league.
You know what you and me should start doing? We should start saying no team has ever won the premiership after conceding 49 or more points.
But I think that may have happened.
Really?
Yeah, that's why the number's at 50.
God damn it. Who conceded 49 points and won the premiership?
I think it was the Knights.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, early 2000s Knights. I think they had a game where they, and I could check it out, but yeah, I'm just going to wing it.
When
think it was that one.
Choked.
Hey?
When the Eels choked against the Knights.
Yeah. One of those times.
Yeah, 2001.
Yeah, that's the one. As far as other obscure stats, there's the only one. No, I can't really think of any, to be honest. The only one I was going to go up with was one about Parramatta halfbacks, but notice, there hasn't been a halfback at Parramatta since Sterling to have played 100 games in the number 7 jumper, but I think Moses has just got there.
Just ticked it over, yeah. I can't think of any that jump out into, like, I'm sure if you looked hard enough, you could find some weird stat that, if a certain team doesn't win all their games in April, they don't win the premiership,
Yeah, I'll look into that.
Something strange like that.
Yeah, that's something I'll look into. Just for fun one day.
Our next one is from Liam, and he says, "High leaders of the PVL fan club and World Cup haters. With the NRLW being delayed this year, it has a chance to stand on its own. Do you think the competition will rate okay on TV or get good crowds, if crowds are allowed? I personally hope so, as the women's game in a lot of ways is more entertaining to watch in recent years, since the girls don't wrestle much and they don't have six again bullshit ruining the contest. And if you had to plan out the next 20 years of NRLW, how would you expand the competition? My goal would be by the year 2040, we have 12 teams all playing each other in a proper home and away season and a top 5 or a top 6 final series. The teams would be based in North Queensland, Brisbane, Gold Coast, Newcastle, New Zealand, Melbourne, Adelaide, Perth, and 4 Sydney clubs. I know the revenue to the NRLW would have to increase quite a bit for it to be fully professional league where you could run a national competition like this, but fuck it. It's my wish list, and that's what I would do if I had the power to. I believe the women's game has an advantage over the men's game when it comes to expansion, since it doesn't have to keep 9 old-ass Sydney clubs happy and can forge its own path forward. P.S. I sent you a long message a few months ago, and you only read the first part of it. That's Andrew's fault. As the biggest Volandi shills on the internet, according to Angry Englishmen, I think you would get a kick out of the second half of it, and congratulations on baby Ferguson. Oh, that's very nice.
Oh, well, I'll answer this one. You should go through the email on the other
Yeah,
half.
let me go back and find it, eh?
Look, oh boy, where to start on this one? It's, I'd like to see the women's game not be run by the NRL at all, but the NRL work in conjunction and make sure they help promote it as much as possible with all the resources they have. I think the women should be trying to run their game their way so that no dopey bullshit rules from the NRL get forced upon them. Because at the moment, I think the NRLW will actually get quite a lot of people watching it and enjoying it because, as you said before, there's no wrestle there. What you do get is the women play the game in the spirit of the game as it's intended. That is good sportsmanship, hard and fair, and they're damn good games of football.
Yeah.
Just that's all there is to it. As for 2040, I'd like to see more than just 12 teams, and I can't see any reason why there wouldn't be. I'm with you though. I wouldn't be having a ton of teams, bulked up in Sydney and Brisbane. Yeah, four teams in Sydney. Have a north team, south team, east team, west team. I think that'd be more than enough.
Yeah.
Have a North Brisbane team and a South Brisbane team in Gold Coast. And yeah, try and cover every other capital city from there. And obviously, I've got no reason why no issue with the Cowboys having a team of their own. God, I'd love to see a PNG women's team in the comp because, damn, have you ever seen the PNG women's team play?
I don't think I have. Hey,
they've sat down, they've watched the way the PNG men play, and they go, "Yeah, we can do that," and then they go out and literally do that.
Wow! Holy crap!
They would fold several NRL men's players. God, some of the hits they come up with, it's insane. But yeah, I'd love to see a bit of that in there as well. I'd love to see more Pacific Island teams having teams that play regularly in the NRL and the NRLW because it's only going to help improve the international game as well as the domestic competition as well at the same time. So I'd be keen on all of that.
See, I think that I would agree with everything that Liam said as well. The only thing I would say is that I think the female players would have a little bit more trouble backing up week in, week out than the male players do. That's what I've been told about women's rugby league at that level. It's a little bit harder for them to back up. And yeah, I mean, then money would have to be right for them to be able to be, I guess, full-time professionals and all that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, I just think you hit all the capital cities and yeah, I would love to see the competition being that big, and I'd like to see it break away from the NRL, quite honestly, and be its own administration. And I would like personally, I would like the women's teams to be called their own things. I don't think they need to be affiliated with NRL clubs.
No, but I can understand why they do it. It's purely just, recognisable brand, so it's just easy to get a footing in the market, I guess, straight away when you do that.
I found Liam's older email.
Ah, good.
And there are some things he wrote in this I really can't say on the podcast. I mean, at one point he says Peter V'landys has a 12-inch long hog, and, he says that he wants to have V Godley's babies, and Fergo the Freak can eat shit and die. I'm not saying stuff like that in the podcast.
Yeah, you really did get a little fired up, didn't he?
Yeah. He's taking
fired up, excited. It's a bit of both.
Yeah. Speaking of fired up and excited, the World Cup was cancelled finally. I've had my bit to say as a representative of the nation of Australia and New Zealand, although New Zealand's more of a council area. What are your thoughts on the World Cup being cancelled officially?
I'm wondering whether pretty much all of the sponsors come together and said, if you don't get Australia and New Zealand in this World Cup, then we're taking our fucking money and going elsewhere with it. And they've gone, yeah, okay, we're gonna have to cancel this.
It's been really funny for me is all of these made up rugby leagues over there, and they're all basically in the same office areas. So you had the Super League had something to say, then the Rugby Football League had something to say, then the European Rugby League, whoever the fuck they are, had something to say. And it's like, just keep swapping the letterheads, fellas.
Do you reckon they'll share in the same vending machine?
Probably. They took it very personally, the English, didn't they?
Well, you can understand why. This is their best opportunity to win the goddamn thing. Like, they weren't going to win it because Tonga was still going to be there, so they weren't going to win it. But it was their best chance to do that.
But everything that I saw was like, okay, Australia and New Zealand withdrew. The fucking NRL. And it's like, no, it was Australia and New Zealand withdrew from the World Cup. And it just was like a bunch of superly emotional people making super emotional, outrageous comments that really, I found it very strange, the reaction. They took it very, very personally, and I didn't understand why.
I think the large reason is because English Rugby League needs marquee events like this. Now, I don't know why English Rugby League hasn't been trying to lobby for more kangaroo tours, because that would have the same impact, essentially, as the World Cup would, especially given that they're only trying to market to the place where they've already marketed, you know. That's what they're doing with the World Cup. They weren't really taking it to any new places, were they?
No.
Most of the games were being played where they already had their fan base set up. So all they were doing was trying to pick the pockets of the fans who are already donating plenty of money to the game anyway. What few of them there is left there. They're just going to pick their pockets dry until there's nothing left to pick, and then what?
Well, that's it.
The problem
they
with
don't
not
have
having the expansion. They're not trying to think big picture.
No, there's no plan. And the funny thing was, they would say, well, this is terrible for the English game. And you'd say, well, it's the international game. I thought none of the money was going to the English game. And it's like, oh, you're right. It's terrible for the international game. It's like, oh, the international game would be all right. And then all of a sudden, like there was 2 or 3 days there where the big issue was some of the female players in England had put their weddings off for a month while the World Cup was on. And that was the big issue. And it's like, I think they'll be fine. You know, they'll have their weddings a month later. They'll be fine. I just found the whole thing ridiculous.
Kind of scratching for whatever reason they can to have the shits, I guess.
They really were. And, you know, the NRL's the big bad monster in their eyes. I think a lot of it comes down to petty jealousy. Petty jealousy.
I was a bit torn on it because I completely agreed with the justification that the ARLC had, and that was player safety. Mm-hmm. Fully agree with that. I stand by that entirely. That is the entire reason why I would not have had the World Cup taking place at all. The reason why I was torn was because when the issue of player safety arose the week after, when Queensland went into lockdown, and I was going, yeah, we don't give a fuck about that. And hang on, you can't dive into the pool of player safety when it suits you, and then jump out of that pool when when that suits you as well. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You got to pick one, and that's the thing that got me is the fact that but they kind of did. They had. Queensland went into lockdown because they had cases there, and they said that we're not going to have any professional sport. And the NRL worked very hard to ensure that they got their games played. So they defied what the government wanted in the face of a COVID outbreak there. And I know that people will say, well, but there's only 6 cases against them. And I go, no, it doesn't matter. A COVID risk is a COVID risk.
But the thing is, right, and I think this is where you're wrong. And it's finally this. It only took us 337 episodes to disgrant something, apart from daylight saving.
Let's be clear, first of all. I'm never wrong because I only speak facts.
Oh, no, you're wrong, Fonzie. Let me tell you why. So the players were already in a bubble, right? And when it came out that... So what happened was that basically the Queensland government said there will be no sport in Queensland on the morning. And the NRL was like, hang on, we're sport as well. and we've just moved everyone up here so we can continue the sport. So they had to postpone the games for that day. And they went to the government and they said, are we able to play games? Because as soon as that news come in, they got all of the teams to return to their hotels from travelling to games, from training. I think it was the Panthers said they were out training. They got the call to go straight back to the hotel. So they're already in a condition of lockdown themselves. And so they all went back to their hotels. The NRL negotiated with the government as to what they would need to do above and beyond what they were already doing to stay in a lockdown condition. And the condition was no fans at all at the games. You can see the players wear the masks and stuff as they're indoors. So there are the bubble lockdown conditions. But the thing that the ARL and the New Zealand Rugby League were worried about is that the players going through all of this and then having to go through it again without there being any guarantee that these players can come and go. And look, just this week we've seen Australia has changed the conditions in which they will allow you to come and go from Australia. And one of them isn't for the Rugby League World Cup, funnily enough. And once if you looked at the plans for the World Cup organisers, the bubble didn't exist once they got to England. You were basically able to go out and, go to shops and get whatever you wanted, go to restaurants and stuff. And there was no bubble over there. There just wasn't. And that was a big, big problem.
That, though, was largely due to the fact that their immunisation or the vaccine rate is very high over there compared to here.
That's true, but so they're all still getting it as well.
I know, but I think that's the reason why they were not as forceful with the bubbles over there. I mean, I'm pretty sure Super League teams were in bubbles last year and they were still getting coronavirus.
Well, my understanding is that Super League clubs, I mean, you kept on hearing English supporters saying, well, the Super League clubs couldn't afford players to be in a bubble. And I think what they actually mean is that the players that the Super League clubs don't actually pay wages to couldn't afford time off work to stay at home in between games. That's what they really meant. I think that, the lockdown conditions the World Cup organisers put down were terrible. But even if they had put down the proper conditions for a lockdown competition, you still would have been asking these players to go through this shit for so long. I just think they made the right decision.
I'm not opposed to the decision that the ARLC made regarding the players going to the World Cup.
Yeah.
I support that decision. I've got no issue with that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just felt like hypocrisy to me. That's all.
That's all right.
As I said, I wasn't wrong.
Whatever, Fonzie.
You just said they're spewing alternate facts to me.
Alternate facts? You fucking alternate facts. I tell you what, it's really nice to have had a few days, though, without the fucking English just launching into me whenever I say something. It's just got boring. Like, it's not that I couldn't handle it. It's just boring waking up every day to some idiot tweeting some dumb shit. And I've got this thing where I try and correct people, and I got to stop doing it. I just got to start ignoring stuff. Did you see the people? I saw one person starting to tell me that the Rugby League, the 2000 World Cup, was an outrageous success on and off the field, right? And I just asked a couple of questions of this person. Turned out that they were in some sort of administrative role. And they were like, the finances were actually really good for the 2000 World Cup. And it really helped develop certain nations. And it was like, I did not continue that. That was one that I did not want to fucking continue on. Because anyone that says that is a fucking idiot.
Were they comparing the finances to, say, the last 12 months of Enron?
No, right? Like, what you and me have literally looked up the information, the financial information for the 2000 World Cup. It is undeniable. It is one of the biggest wastes of money in rugby league's entire history.
Yeah, so from what we saw, The first report that came out about 6 months after the World Cup finished said that there was X amount of money lost.
Mm.
And then 6 months after that, it was X plus X amount of money lost. And then a year after that, it was like, yeah, maybe it was 3 or 4 X's that were lost. Like, yeah, you know what? We're going to stop looking at it now. It's starting to scare us. Let's just put the Nothing Next World Cup on in 8 years' time.
Yeah, and like this person was like, oh, when we finally convinced Australia to have a World Cup again in 2008, and they wanted it on that date because it was 100 years of Australian Rugby League. And I was like, no, we had to spend like fucking 8 years with Australia and New Zealand constantly heading over to England to keep you pricks alive because you couldn't run the World Cup in 2000.
But, you know, back in the 1940s, the Renton Lions came over and they dodged mines that their own military had planted in, you know, to save rugby league in Australia.
That was the funniest shit, hey?
Fucking hell. That was just... That person never replied to me either.
Of course they didn't. Of course they didn't.
You know,
that's why they're a joke, that person.
I'm just going to come out and say something about history because no one's going to pull me up on it. Hey, you know what? Fuck it, I will.
Oops, you ran into a fucking historian, dickhead. Shove that up your ass, Tony.
Docile stuff. But anyway, what else went on?
What else were we going to chat about? There was one other subject. I can't remember what it was.
Well, there's a story up on the Fox Sports website saying that Mick Ennis has called on Cowboys coach Todd Payten to end the experiment with Jason Taumalolo.
Yeah, well, he was playing Jason Taumalolo wider. That he normally plays him in the middle where Taumalolo is the best forward in the world. He was playing him wider, and it was allowing the opposition to target him in defence because, you know, he's not a wide-running second rower. And I got to say, I agree. I don't know why you would take your best player and play him out of position. We've talked about them trying to save Taumalolo, and I understand that. This isn't a season they're going to do anything in, but I just think that there's no reason to make life tougher for him. And I actually saw somebody on Twitter, and I can't remember who it was, but they were talking about Taumalolo's contract, the 10-year contract, and how it's an albatross for both parties at this point. I don't necessarily agree with that because I think that there'd be plenty of other clubs that would happily take on his contract because he's such a great player.
I think what Payton's trying to do is not trying to fuck around with Taumalolo. It's more about trying to get other players in the forward pack to lift their fucking game.
Yeah.
And if Taumalolo is constantly carrying the team and playing near on 80 minutes every game in the middle, that's a lot of players, like front rowers, who don't have to work as hard because one bloke's doing the work of several men.
Yeah.
So put Taumalolo on one edge. All of a sudden, those props, they've all got to do their own work because Taumalolo's not there helping them anymore. He's an edge rower now, edge forward now. And so I think that's kind of what Payton is looking at doing. He's just moving things around and trying to find out, you know, who's going to put in the middle and who's not. It's a weird way of going about it. But yeah, as I said, like the Cowboys season is definitely over and done with. So I've got no problem with coaches, you know, trying new things now in preparation for next year to see what works or what doesn't work, find out who's pulling their weight and who isn't. You know, because that's kind of what you should be doing if you're going to be preparing for improvement the following year. And I got no issue with Payton doing that. It doesn't make sense, obviously, tactically, but for him to find out, you know, who he needs to hang on to and who's pulling their weight in the forwards, it makes sense to do that. I don't think it's something he's going to do permanently. It's just, as I said, finding out who the slackers are in his team and who he can cut.
Yeah, and I think it would be interesting to see what Jason Taumalolo had to say about it because he seems like he's pretty comfortable within himself and his place in the club. Seems like he's pretty happy with life in general when you see him. And, you know, he seems like the sort of person that if you went to him with an idea, knowing that the season is done and dusted, he would be open to trying things if it was to bet himself as a player or the club in general. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think Peyton needs to try things. I wouldn't necessarily be doing it with Jason Taumalolo, but you don't know the conversations they've had between one another. You know, and maybe Jason's gone to him and said, look, I need to work on my mobility a little bit more, and I can't do it if I'm doing the grunt work up the middle. You just don't know.
That's right. Tell you what, there is one talking point from this week's footy.
Mm-hmm.
Parramatta.
Yeah, we said they were done last week, and they look done.
And now they've lost Reid Mahoney.
Mm-hmm.
He's out for the rest of the year. He was pretty much their main attacking spark. A lot of what Parramatta did in their attack was momentum through the forwards.
Yeah,
and all that came off the work that Mahoney gave them, and that's not going to be there anymore.
Yeah, I think we nailed it last week. We both had Parramatta finishing really poorly towards the end of the year when we did our prediction episode for the rest of the year. And you watched them against South, and it wasn't. I mean, South didn't play great, but they were so many levels above the Eels, and that was the feeling you and me both had, is that the Eels weren't quite where the other clubs were. And yeah, it just seems like it's going to be a sad end to the season for the Eels. And I think we both even said it might be Brad Arthur's last game when we did that, the end of the final series too. So it's going to be interesting to see, because I'm pretty sure they signed him to another deal this year, because that's what Parramatta does. They would have to pay him out if they wanted another coach in there, but I don't know who you'd get. I mean, obviously Jeff Tuvey is at the top of that list. They can't get Craig Bellamy now. I guess you could maybe get Wayne Bennett.
Do you reckon they've got a bit of a penchant for having a former player as a coach?
I don't know.
Because there's a current unemployed first grade coach.
Yeah.
He's a former Parramatta player.
Yes.
Premiership winning coach. Who they could probably go and sign.
Oh, man. I'm stumped. Who is it?
Shane Flanagan.
Oh, yeah. I don't count him. That would be a nightmare, hey?
If Parramatta could sign him, then I don't need to worry about the West Tigers signing him.
Ah, I see what you're doing here. I see what's happening.
Furthermore, it'll be a 2-for-1 deal, because you'll get Kyle Flanagan as well.
That's true.
He'll be able to play those 2 or 3 games a year when Mitch Moses is completely out of form and needs a break.
He'll take those minutes that Brad Arthur's son plays.
Yeah, that's the ones.
It's really weird to see how one-dimensional the Parramatta attack is.
But they've been like this for the best part of the last 3 years. The thing that worked for them is that they had an absolute fucking steam train on one wing and a bloke who can jump over houses on the other.
Mm-hmm.
But then the steam train got derailed, and the bloke who could jump over buildings forgot how to jump. And all of a sudden, that was their game plans out the window, which was, Moses kicking to Ferguson and Sevo.
Yeah,
that was
true.
it.
I also think that once they lost their steam, it also became very clear that the fullback didn't like to run the ball from fullback, which was a problem. And then, seeing Gutherson yelling at his teammates, and he didn't do it in this last game. I think someone had to talk to him, because he would be running around yelling at his teammates when they'd make mistakes, and then he'd make mistakes himself and sort of just smile like it was all right. Yeah. And I think someone had a word to him that, dude, you're going to get a team of players offside here if you don't shut up.
Exactly.
And cut that fucking hair.
I think what Brad Arthur should probably consider is moving Gutherson into the halves.
Oh,
and having someone like Blake Ferguson, or not him, but someone like him, I guess, who's a good ball runner playing at fullback, because without Mahoney there, they're going to need as much momentum as they can get from the very first tackle of every set, and they're not going to get it with the lazy ass kick returns that Gutherson provides. They need someone who's going to run that ball back hard.
Yeah, I mean, he makes Dylan Edwards look like RTS.
Yeah, it's a big problem. I think Gutherson can be carried in the halves, and I think actually at the moment he's in better form than Moses. So I'd probably have Gutherson at 6.
Oh,
and
really?
Moses can just have the rest of the season off, mate. You are toast.
He really looks.
He's beat.
Yeah, he looks physically beaten down, doesn't he?
Yeah, he just needs to take the rest of the year off. Get your body right. Start preseason a bit early. Play a few games against a bunch of bloody just, ragtag teams just to get your confidence up and remember how to run the ball again. And coming to first grade round 1 next year in a good headspace and in good form.
I tell you what, if you're Parramatta, right, and Money's gone for the year, and I don't know who you'd play at fullback, like no one jumps out at me. But if you say you give Mitch Moses a couple of weeks off to just physically get it back together, and he might need longer than that, but say you give him a couple more weeks off, and I think he needs that for sure. What if you move Gutherson into 5'8" and you play Mitch Moses at hooker, and you say, we want you to use your running game out of hooker. We want you to be a run-first sort of hooker. It just might be enough to shake up their attack a little bit.
Why not move Moses to fullback? He's played it before. If that's what you want out of him, you want his running game to return, then move him to fullback. I don't think defensively he's capable of handling the workload required at hooker.
Yeah, I get that. I just think that as a fullback, I want somebody that's a big, strong dude. And I've talked about this before, where if you look at a lot of the fullbacks in the game, they've got a big frame. Like there's very few skinny fullbacks in the game, and the ones that are skinny, and I think as someone like Kalen Ponga, who I'm a massive fan of, they get brutalised at the back. So I would be worried about having somebody like Moses at fullback, because I think he'd just be under more physical pressure because of the way that fullbacks have to play the game these days.
Yeah, I guess I would maybe put Moses at 6. Make him play a traditional 6, not the stupid shit where you've got just 2 halfbacks, one either side of the field.
Yeah.
Have him as a genuine roving second receiver where he can pop up on either side of the field. Yeah, like Laurie Daly was in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have one set side of the field. He popped up anywhere he wanted to, and he's always second receiver off Stewart. Fucking brilliant combination. Maybe try and work that in there. I don't know. They have to change things, because at the moment they are so pedestrian in attack.
Mm.
They are very, very easy to defend against. Parramatta's got very good forward pack, and they're very good defensively. So you're not going to get an easy win against them, but you're not likely to get absolutely hammered by them either, unless your defense is atrocious.
Remember there was a point before the season started, and you and me were saying they need to get Benji Marshall, and it was for this reason. Can you imagine if they had Benji in that side right now?
It would make a world of difference.
They'd be a completely different prospect.
Even if he was just coming off the bench.
Yeah.
Like he's doing at South. That would have been fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting how just moves like that can make such a huge difference for a club. And look, Benji Marshall, if the Eels wanted him, they probably could have got him. But,
yeah. He was looking for a club all off season.
Yeah. It was the perfect club for him. And South picked him up. And every time that I watch South play, and you're waiting, because it's starting to get into the Reynolds does a hammy, Reynolds hurts his hip season, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you hate to see it, because it happens just as South are clicking and he's in great form and stuff, and then just something will happen. He'll get a head knock or something weird will happen, and he just has to carry it through a final series, and he doesn't look the same. And you just know Benji's there ready to go if that does occur.
Yeah.
Huge for Souths.
That's right. Parramatta's, I don't know what they're going to do. They don't have too many genuine playmakers in the team. That's their problem. And Brown and Mahoney are the two chief playmakers. There's no doubt about it.
What does that contract for Mitch Moses look like right now?
Do you reckon he'd be sniffing around Brisbane saying, do you guys need a halfback yet?
Well, has he officially signed that contract?
I'm not sure. I mean, if I was him, though, I mean, you probably wouldn't feel too worried because if Jacob Arthur's your biggest threat.
That's true.
Tell you what, talking about halves, going to other clubs next year, Matt Burton's been a bit of average form up until this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
He was very, very good against the Roosters.
Yeah, he finally looked like a top-level 5'8", didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he took control of that. I mean, there were times when you watch him going, I don't think Luai's the chief playmaker here. It looks like Burton's controlling everything.
Yeah, and the thing for Luai, like, he was obviously playing more of a halfback role in this game, which isn't his main, role when Cleary's there. So I wasn't concerned about how he was playing. And his defence is great. Like, his defence is fantastic. Doesn't matter where he plays. But Burton, when he's played at 5'8", it has been really worrying because as a centre, you watch him and you're like, this guy could be playing Origin next year as a centre and you wouldn't bat an eyelid. Like, his form at centre has been incredible. And then when he's moved into 5'8", he doesn't look like a first grader. Well, this is the first time he actually looked like he belonged as a 5'8". And it was really only into the second half, and I don't know what it was that clicked for him, but he started running the ball straight and hard.
That's all it was. He started running the ball. And like, he was running the ball in the first half, but a lot of it was drifting to the side. So he wasn't really committing the defence into him too hard. But when he started running a bit straighter, and he did it just at the back end of the first half and into the second half, and he's got a nice little step right at the defensive line. I say little. It's a decent sized step. It's a big step.
It's a devastating one, yeah.
Yeah. He's looking at going, why have you been going sideways all this time?
Yeah, and I think
there's one thing that used to frustrate me about Benji Marshall, in chunks of his career. He had obviously the most amazing sidestep ever, and yet he would spend months running sideways.
Yeah.
What are you doing, man? You can step in 90-degree angles. Like, fucking run straight.
And I think that in this game, one of the things that Burton was doing was because he started going up and down the field with his attack rather than side to side. It started to draw the Roosters' defence. They were starting to compress in front of him. Exactly. And as they compressed in front of him, it was all of a sudden Kickout's got room.
Yep.
And the players outside of him had room. And instead of going across field, he was taking the line on, engaging it, and then getting it out to Kickout. And Kickout was like 2-on-1 with players. And when you're in that situation, like, it's 50-50 that Kickout's just going to do some Superman shit and just go, 40 metres and score. So, and I think that maybe it just clicked for him in this game. And to do it against because the way that the Roosters were playing, they were playing really smart. Even in attack, they were really, really... There was a few times there where they found ways to break the Panthers' line. And there was one play where the dummy half, he put it out the back to look like two decoy runners. But the second of those decoy runners, when they would get the ball, they had space through the Panthers' line. And they did it at one point on about the 40-metre line. And then they did it again later on, right on the try line. They scored a try from it. So they were playing really smart. And I think that doing it against a team like that, where you can see that they've got structures and they're making decisions and they're smart decisions, and all of a sudden a player like Burton's like, hang on a second, I can break this game open if I run at them and I engage them this way. And I think it just clicked for him, and it was cool to see.
Absolutely it was. The other thing that gets me about it, is, and it's not so much him, it's that when the Panthers have got a running half playing well, for some reason, I don't understand why, kick-out just goes further and further left. Like,
Yeah.
mate, come inside. I just look at it going, if he came inside instead of kept pushing himself further and further left, the amount of opportunities for him to score or for players around him to score through the middle, coming back inside, would be insane. And yet he just goes wider and wider and wider.
Yeah, and he takes away from his outside backs too. They end up with no space, and the Panthers' outside backs give them a bit of space, and they can do something with it. And I agree with you. I do remember there was a game, it might have been earlier this year, where you and me had been talking about that. I wish I could remember who they'd been playing, but then Kick-Out did actually start doing that, and he was devastating. He was fantastic.
Because he was getting to the point on the weekend where he was between the winger and the centre.
Yeah.
What are you doing? That's where the 5'8's going to run or the fullback's going to run. Why are you there?
Yeah, that's only one position in from where Gareth Ellis used to play,
He's getting into Ellis territory, and that's a worry.
He really is. You don't want him into Ellis territory. But, there was some talk about his contract last week. I didn't see too much of it. But I've been wondering with Kick-Out, would he be addition by subtraction? Say you took Kick-Out and put in just someone and I'm not saying this is a move that would ever happen, but I'm just thinking of a prototype sort of player, say a Josh Jackson, right? Someone who's not an outstanding attacking player. He's a pretty good defender. If you put somebody like him in Kick-Out spot, you're going to lose a lot in attack. But do you make up so much in defence and mobility that you'd actually be further ahead as a team than if you persist with Kick-Out? Because either Kick-Out is being poorly coached, which is a possibility, or he just isn't getting what he needs to do.
Yeah, see, I think all Kick-Out needs to do is follow the, kind of like the run maps that Luciano Leilua has.
Mm-hmm.
Because Leilua will pop up on both sides every now and then, but a lot of the times he is at least, at most, he's 3 in from the sideline. So he's still got 2 players outside him, which is kind of where he should be.
Mm-hmm.
I think if Kick-Out could do that, that would be, it's a small change, but it would make him so much more devastating. But yeah, I think if you were to get someone, maybe not Jackson, but say like Ryan Madison.
Yeah.
Just a great line runner. That's all you need.
Sean Lane would be another good one.
Another one, yep. Sean Lane. Britton Nakora.
Yeah.
Talakai from the Sharks. God damn, I love that bloke. Another great example. You put him out there and just get him to run straight onto anything, and he'll just do it. Boom. You'd probably improve the attack immensely.
See, even and I know that he's going to the Bulldogs next year, but I could see where you could have got someone like a Tavita Pangai Jr. And if he had flat out replaced Kick-Out, I can see where once you got him a bit more mobile, he would actually be better than Kick-Out in the overall game. Yeah. Even if it's just the work rate. I mean, Kick-Out, he makes a lot of meters running the ball, but how much grunt work is he really doing? I don't think it's enough for someone as big as him and as devastating as him.
No, and it is similar to Leilua as well, where he's just parked out on one edge.
Mm-hmm.
And so his job is more attack-oriented than defence-oriented, which is a bit weird. But, I just like to see him run straight and hard on those edges close to the line instead of doing the sideways shit. I mean, you're 7'50" and weigh 230,000 kilos, and you're all muscle. Fucking run straight, man. You can run through walls, for fuck's sake. Don't run around them.
Yeah. It's it can be really frustrating, and the thing is too that I think he's starting to get into that Wonga Blake territory of this guy looks like a superstar, but it's only a couple of times a season. And, you hope that it's in the right game. but there's been too many games where he's been very, very quiet, and a dude as good and as talented as him should never have a quiet game.
No, and that's the thing. I think his style of play is the only style that doesn't complement the rest of the Panthers side.
Yeah.
Look, Panthers have got very methodical forwards. They're all doing very important sort of roles. They're all very similar roles, except for Liam Martin, who just decides that he wants to run through anything he can. God, he's just... I love watching these forwards who just run without fear. Like Martin and Talakai, for me, are just two of the best young forwards going around because they just run at gaps and they don't care what's in front of them. Like, I see you there. I'm still going to run through you. You can try and stop me. I'm going to make it as hard as possible for you to stop me, though. And when you run with that amount of aggression and just no fear, no one's ever going to be able to shut you down effectively for a whole game. It's just impossible. And I'd like to see Kikau run like that because imagine his frame doing that. Imagine his frame doing what Liam Martin does.
It'd be crazy.
Just,
The thing is, though, like, if you took Kikau, and we've already got Luke Capewell, but if you put Luke Capewell doing
Kurt.
Luke. It's Luke Capewell.
Luke and Kurt are brothers, I think. I think Luke used to play ages ago.
Yeah, he played a long time ago, didn't he? Anyway, Kurt Capewell.
He might have played with Matt Daylight.
He probably did. Luke Capewell. I feel like he was a Sharks player.
No, he played for South, the Titans, and the Broncos.
There you go. I'm so far off. All I'm drinking is Dr. Pepper as well.
That's probably why.
Yeah, if you put Kurt Capewell into that position, I think that he'd give you so much more than Kikau's giving you right now, and that's a crazy thing to think about.
Yeah. No, I fully agree.
But I'm watching that game because people have been worried about the Panthers. I'm not worried because their defence, you could say they'd got a lot of their players back, so the defence started to come together again. You could see their defensive combinations. They trust one another, which is huge for this defence. And I think once they get Cleary back in the next few weeks, I think they'll be fine. So I don't understand why, and I kind of like it. I like that people are writing them off at the moment because that's fine,
I find it's just crazy that people are writing them off. Like, Penrith are still winning games without their chief playmaker in the side.
Yeah.
And their chief playmaker is going to be returning to the team very soon, having had several weeks to get his body rested, just in time for the finals. That's kind of helpful. Like, why would you be writing that side off?
Yeah, I don't understand it. Especially when you look at their defence when they've got most of their players back, and it's still they're a good defensive team. The way they work together, it's ridiculous. And, the way that they've played with some makeshift lineups, they've just got the job done in a few games, which is all you can ask for. And, I don't understand why people are writing them off. I think because the Storm are going so well, people are like, the Storm are unbeatable and stuff, and I get that. I'm not saying that they're not the favourites at the moment, but it is weird that people are writing off the Panthers and then saying a team like, say, the Sea Eagles are a real chance. I don't get that.
Manly's just one of those teams where if they get the early momentum, they can be hard to shut down. But if they've got to fight for it, as they did against Melbourne, they'll be in the game, but they will struggle to win the game.
Yeah.
But in saying that too, they're very good at getting that momentum very early on as well.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I see them as a much bigger threat than Parramatta.
Oh, yeah.
And if they stay fit, they'll probably be a very similar threat to the Roosters.
See, and I would get that, but at the same time, I don't think the Roosters are any threat.
That's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I agree with you. I think right now it's Panthers, Storm, Rabbitohs, which I think was what we both said at the start of the year.
Yeah, at the moment, the big issues the Rabbitohs have got is their defence can at times be sloppy. Like, not just during parts of the season, but even just during games. It can just be a little bit West Tigerish in appearance.
Lazy. Yeah.
They just look at it going, what's that shit?
Yeah, they turn off.
Yeah.
It's very strange. And the funny thing is, if they had that out of their game, I think it would be a legit 3-horse race. You could pick any team. Because when they're on, the Rabbitohs are outrageously good.
Yeah, I mean, think of it this way. They've scored, 90 points more than Penrith this year? But at the same time, they've conceded 160 points more than them.
Yeah,
That's telling.
It must be so frustrating for Wayne Bennett, because you know that's like the opposite of what he likes out of his teams.
Yeah, he's always been someone who works off the back of a good defence.
Yeah.
So, yeah, interesting.
Hey, there's been a little bit of talk that the NRL is looking to take the grand final to New Zealand.
That would be great if it happened.
It would. My guess is that they're trying to milk the Queensland government out of more money. Because remember last week they were saying they might take it to Melbourne, and then this week it's, we might take it to Auckland. And I think legitimately they could, but I'd be shocked if it wasn't in Brisbane.
I think in the end, the NRL's going to be, their hand's going to get forced, because they're not going to want to have a grand final in an empty stadium. And Brisbane at the moment, or Queensland at the moment, they're about to come out of lockdown, but they've still got a few cases lingering around there of COVID. Melbourne's about to, we just started lockdown here because we've had a few cases, and we're only going to be in a 7-day lockdown at this stage.
Yeah.
If it turns out that Sydney can't get on top of their cases, which it's not looking great at this stage.
No.
The NRL is going to be forced to look at Lang Park, which won't be Suncorp Stadium, which won't be too bad because it can hold nearly 60,000 people. I think it's 55 or something like that. Or possibly the MCG, which is, 105,000, which, will go, oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Although the problem with that is probably about 85,000 of those people that they'd be relying on would have to come from Sydney, and they won't be able to get across the border. So that's a problem.
Do you reckon that people in Victoria would not go to an NRL grand final?
No, they go, but I don't think you get the big crowd that you want, which means you could probably just play it at AB Park.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. Oh, is it? Well, you could play it in that indoor stadium. What's it called? Marvel Stadium?
Yeah. It holds about 60,000 as well. So that's another option, I guess.
Yeah.
And then you've got, I guess, Mount Smart Stadium, which it's got a low 20,000 capacity, I think.
Yeah, they would sell Eden Park out so quickly.
They'd sell out any stadium there.
Yeah.
Easy, fast.
I think the only problem you would have with the grand final would be in New Zealand is the kickoff time is going to have to be late in New Zealand, or you're going to have to bring it forward a little bit for Australia. Yeah. Because it's the 2-hour time difference. And look, you can't kick off the game at 10 p.m. New Zealand time. That would be ridiculous.
No, won't it even be close to 3 hours then because of daylight saving time?
Could be. Add that to the list, Andrew.
Add it to the list.
Oh, shit.
All the cows are going to fade.
They really are.
It'll make the milk fade. It'll get whiter. Yeah, it's interesting. I think though the NRL is going to want to try and make some money from ticket sales, and that's going to be the driving factor. I think it's a novel idea to be contemplated in New Zealand, but I think that'll be a last resort for them. They'll want to go to a bigger stadium.
I wouldn't be shocked if New Zealand would be the last resort, because they would have to really negotiate with the New Zealand government. And it might even be one of those things where the New Zealand government says, we want you to all do a 1 week quarantine. Like, could the NRL handle a 2 week gap between the semi-finals and the grand final?
Yeah, I think so. The
I
AFL
think
does
so
it every
too.
year, so I reckon they could probably just copy that model.
Yeah.
And, it's not the first time that the NRL would have copied an AFL finals model. We did take that stupid McIntyre system from them.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. The only dumber final system than that was the Super 8s.
Yeah. If somebody put a gun to my head and said, explain the Super 8s to me, I'd say just pull the trigger.
Just pull the trigger, mate.
Pull the trigger. So I don't have to think about it.
Yeah, well, I just don't want to talk for that long. We've done 2-hour podcasts. I don't want to talk for longer than that to someone to explain to them a final series, but that's how long it's going to take to explain Super 8s. Because then you get into the mood, you go, oh, so it's like that for all... No. See, it's different for Super League because all the results for this year stay there and it's not the same with the other ones. And it's just, there's $1 million game for the shitty teams in the middle and, they don't pay for $1 million at the top. So, I don't know why. It's hurting my head already. I'm glad they don't have it anymore.
Speaking of stupid things, I'm pretty sure I saw a report that said the women's English competition, they're basically scrapping all the results from the games they've already played and they're basically starting anew.
England does like doing that though with their football competitions.
Yeah.
They love a null result. I think they've had 2, maybe 3 games already in the Super League this year where a team's been handed a 24-0 win by forfeit.
Forfeit, yeah, which is crazy. I was actually thinking about this. The last forfeited games we had were in 1996, weren't they?
Yeah, Super League.
Yeah, when it was the Super League teams didn't field teams at the start of the ARL competition.
All bar the Warriors. The Warriors are going to field a team from the Lion Red competition. And so that ensured that they got 2 competition points.
I remember watching... I can't remember who Illawarra were playing, but they were playing some team. And it was funny because at the time you sort of wondered where the game was going. The stars were talking, there was some of the biggest stars in the game were talking about not playing the game anymore. It's a very weird time. And Illawarra was playing somebody. It must have been like a Friday night footy or something. And there was a bloke that was playing really well for them. And I feel like he was Fijian. And I was thinking, well, is this dude going to be the next star of the game? Turned out he wasn't. But it's funny to think back of...
Was that in round 196?
I feel like it would have been, yeah.
I think the person you're thinking of is Philly Saru.
Yes.
He scored 2 tries in that game.
Yeah, see? You killed it in that game.
Yeah, it was against West, and West won 17-8.
There you go. Is he Fijian or...
I believe he was, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, played for Fiji in the 90s.
Why can I remember that dude, but I can't remember
Matt Daylight?
Kurt Capewell.
Matt Daylight.
Yeah, Matt Daylight. Don't even start me on Matt Daylight. But I don't even know what that is.
That's brilliant is what that is. Yeah, Philly Saru played 30 NRL games and scored 6 tries.
There you go. It's not a great strike rate, is it?
Not for a winger, no. Especially not in the mid-90s when everyone was scoring tries at will.
Pretty damn good Illawarra side too. They would Rodwell, McGregor.
Yeah, they were a good team back in 96. Wishart.
Yeah.
Don't forget Wishart.
Wishart, yeah. They had, who was the halfback? They had a pretty handy halfback too.
Was it John Simon then?
Oh, you know what? It might have been. Yeah, I might be thinking of a little bit later.
Sean Timmins.
Was Sean Timmins in that side?
Yeah. John Cross.
Wow.
Darren Fretz, Wayne Richards, John Cross. I said, yeah, pretty handy side.
It's weird if you had sat down at that game and said, "Hey, this team will not exist in a few years from now. They'll merge with the Dragons."
Yeah, they just won't be here in 3 years' time.
Yeah.
Even Trent Barrett he made his debut that year, I think.
96.
Paul Carriage was playing for him.
for the Illawarra Steelers.
Yeah.
Man, he should have stopped playing.
Brad Mackay. Neil
How would,
Pincinelli.
yeah, he was a handy player. Tell you what, how would that team go in the NRL today? They'd be bloody hard to beat.
Oh, absolutely.
A
Craig
lot of
Smith.
experience.
David Riolo.
He was good.
Yeah. No, it was a bloody good side.
I feel like that Illawarra team, because at the time they were there or thereabouts, but like the next level, when you think of the next level above them, was probably a team like North Sydney, who were very, very good, but were never a premiership threat, a real one. And the teams above them were like Canberra, Brisbane on and off, the Sea Eagles. It was a murderer's row.
That's right. Oh, fascinating stuff.
Yeah, we should talk about some history on our podcast every so often, hey?
That'd be an idea. When was the last time we did a history episode?
Yeah, I think, funnily enough, the last one that was tagged a history episode, I might have gone through my team of the 1990s.
Oh, yes.
That was when you were making a human being.
Yeah, I think actually the human being had been created.
Yeah.
And my sleep had, let's be honest. I don't know if people know this or not. I don't sleep much, children or not. I've never really slept much. Like 5 hours a day is usually what I do on average. But when the babies come along, it sort of does drop down a bit to about 2 or 3 hours a day. So yeah, it was probably around that time when I was only doing about 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
And still working.
Just trying to die, basically.
I was burning the candle at both ends, and just to make sure the flame didn't go out, I also made sure I was burning it in the middle as well.
But yeah, I can't remember the one before that. It'll be on the website.
Yeah. Where is that website?
Go and check it out. It's fergoandthefreak.com, right? And if you look at the top of the menu, you can see all of the history section, where it's basically every history episode we've ever done, all in one place. So if you just want to hear history episodes, just go straight there.
Yeah, the one before that was the first rugby league tour to Australia, the New Zealand Maori side, which was May 10.
That was good fun, that one.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. And before that was in February, where we looked at the birth of the salary cap and the player draft. Look at the stuff you're missing out on, people.
We smash out so many episodes. It's great.
You do, yes.
No, you are starting to get back into it. It's good fun.
Steadily.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll tee up a history episode soon.
Yeah. See, the history episodes are great because I basically say, okay, start.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. Yeah. No. Oh, well, thanks for joining in, everyone.
Oh, shit. Anyway, we should wrap this one up.
Let's put it to bed.
Yeah. Congratulations, Julie.
And Mr. and Mrs. Nathan as well. Congratulations to you.
Yep.
Anyone else who had kids out there who are listeners, congratulations to you, whoever the hell you are. I think we've covered everyone there. I like a good coverall response.
Yeah, basically anybody that's into sex is what we're saying.
Yeah, and follow through.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't forget to follow through, people.
If you like your cream pies, that's all we're saying. Okay?
There was a line. I'm not too sure where it was.
I just dribbled all over it.
Confidence a long way away. Well, on that note, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Make sure you check us out on Twitter at FergoFreakPod. We're also at Instagram with the same name. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. Oh, God, everywhere. Just all those places. Go to the socials. We're there everywhere.
Tell your friends about us.
Yeah, make sure you subscribe to the podcast and also leave us a review. A 5-star rating and a review. That would be fantastic because we'll read it down on the podcast. We'll pop it up on the website as well.
True. And the other thing is, too, if you've got Spotify, you can also listen to the podcast on Spotify as well. So it's just up to you. You'll all have your favorite apps, but Spotify is one of the ones I'm trying to push a little bit lately because we've got some growth we can have on Spotify.
Growth. And if you've got a business and you want it promoted, get in touch with us. We'll help you out. If you want to know what we're capable of, check out some of our earlier episodes with our past sponsor.
Exactly. Manscaped.com. They loved us. Carpet cleaning business would be a good one.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. There was a carpet cleaning business that used to be located next to where I lived when I was up in Newcastle doing study.
Yeah. And
they had their motto on the side of the truck that said, the best lay in town.
Oh, nice.
I went, beautiful. That's beautiful. Poetry. Yeah. Get in touch, people, if you got a business there. And we'll do what we can to help you out.
Exactly.
And on that note, take it easy and feed your babies. And we'll catch you all later.